America. Well, I want to know how your state's refugee assistance program stacks up to mine. So I live in a Midwestern state, and we have a lot of people from Myanmar, Burma, coming over here as refugees to escape a fucking oppressive government, okay? And that's all fine. If you're escaping from an oppressive government, come on over, because fuck them. But here's the fucked up thing. Refugee assistance is more than most Americans will ever make in their entire life in the state I'm in. Let me tell you what they get. So here, when refugee families come to the state I live in, they're automatically given $1,000 a month in food stamps and food assistance. Me, my family, when I was on food stamps several years ago, was capped out at $600 for the same amount of people, a man, a woman, and a kid. So refugees over here are given $180,000 in free money towards the purchase of a house, and they have to start paying for it within 5 years. But what they've been doing is staying in the house for 4.5 years and then selling it, pocketing the money, and then doing it again as a refugee, so they can keep doing it over and over and over and over again, effectively making themselves rich. Refugees here also don't have to pass any driving tests whatsoever. And because refugees have no credit, when they get cars, their credit is not fucking taken into consideration because of their status. So there are people that literally just got here 3 months ago that are driving $50,000 brand new SUVs on the road in the city I'm living in. So me as an American citizen, I can't get any money for a house. I can't get any money for a car. My credit is definitely taken into consideration, and I have to have a down payment on a house. I don't get to not make payments for 5 fucking years. And like I said earlier, my food stamps for me and my family several years ago were capped out at $600, but they get $1,000 as a matter of course just for entering the state. Oh wait, did I hear job assistance and job placement for free too? Hey, I don't get that, but they do. So the big concern here that I have isn't the fact that people are getting shit for free. It's the fact that why don't I fucking get anything for free? I'm paying the taxes for this shit. So maybe you'd think that the people that are paying for this shit would deserve to have some of this shit as well. Apparently that's not in the fucking menu here in America.
In despair, visibly exhausted, dozens of migrants refusing to leave this hotel in Midtown Manhattan. This Venezuelan man saying he's tired and cold, questioning if this is the harsh reality of the American dream.
The cops are here. We need people at the Watson right now.
Dozens of police mobilized in an effort to control the peace, as the irritated and tired migrant men demanded to be allowed back into the hotel. The mayor's office contends the NYPD only responded after individuals who were not asylum seekers assigned to the Watson Hotel rushed in and tried to enter.
Y hay que caminar como una cuadra y media para irse a duchar. No hay agua caliente, las camas son camillas de emergencia.
The New York City mayor's office last weekend began to relocate single male migrants to a new relief center at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal in Red Hook. According to a statement from Fabian Levy, press secretary for New York City Mayor Eric Adams, the transition occurred to make more room in the hotel for asylum-seeking families with children. It went on to say the facilities at Brooklyn Cruise Terminal will provide the same services as every other humanitarian relief center in the city, and the scheduled relocations to Brooklyn Cruise Terminal this weekend took place as planned.
No es apto para dormir, no es apto para vivir. Las cosas no las tiene uno.
Besides this video, I've seen examples of asylum seekers not wanting to eat the food, another one of not wanting to work unless he's able to find something in the same profession he had back home, and others of people throwing parties in the hotels that they were staying in. And if I can be honest with you, to me that's pretty frustrating and infuriating. The entitlement of those individuals is just wild, because not only are they given resources, they also have work permits. There's a lot of undocumented folks that wish that they had access to those resources, and for it to be taken for granted, I think it's just wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of migrants that wish that they had access to those cots to sleep, or access to those showers even if they're far away. With that said, I want to add that those individuals do not represent all of the asylum seekers. Many of them are doing everything they can with the resources that they have. I'm sure there is going to be conservative media that is going to try to use this as example to put down all asylum seekers and migrants as if they are all entitled or complaining about what they have. I have a lot more to say, but familia, I'm going to end it right there. What do you all think about this? And if you disagree with any of my takes, I'd love to know why.
Este niño. No, no lo grabé. Y aquí yo mando, este es mi país, no el suyo.
¿Cómo así usted no manda entonces?
Yo aquí este es mi país, yo grabo. Y aquí la ley de Texas protege al ciudadano.
Este es un país
Mi país.
This week, we got 4,200 people. We get an average of 500 people a day. And Title 42 is not lifted. We could potentially get thousands of people a day in our city. This is wrong for those who are coming here, like Commissioner Castro, and it's wrong for New Yorkers who are here.
They're ungrateful. They really don't want to be here. They've been uprooted from their families. But Jan, it's more serious than that. Some of these Democratic advocates who advocated for the migrants that come now have realized that some of the migrants are raping their employees at the hotel. They reached out to Mayor Adams, said this is unacceptable. Our workers are being threatened. We've got to get this under control. Crime is being committed. Drugs are being smoked in the hotel, and they're having sex in the stairwell. It's just so out of control. And you're talking about 2,000 people being set up in a tent in certain parks. You're talking about retrofitting soccer fields where high school kids would play football to accommodate more of these migrants. And a lot of the parents said, we don't want our kids exposed to this. It's just too dangerous. And there are too many unknowns about who exactly we're giving attention to.
Migrant families turned down proposed asylum in New York after seeing it. Dozens of migrants were horrified after they were brought to Floyd Bennett Field, which was recently converted into a tent city. Some of the arrivals couldn't stand the conditions, while others said that the shelter was too far from their places of work and study.
I'm grateful for what they've given me, she says, but I can't stay here.
In the meantime, these conditions appear to be the best many migrants can hope for as the city's resources dwindle.
Can I say any better? That we need help.
The city leadership is subject to severe criticism from local residents who are confident that, first of all, assistance should be provided to native New Yorkers and veterans.
Will these people be taking away opportunities that the American people should be having first?
Bus drivers in New York City who are transporting migrants to the newly opened Floyd Bennett Park. This is a huge encampment that is set to house about 2,000 migrants. Well, when they arrived with the first few bus loads, many of the families actually turned right back around to get back on the buses. Although they are providing transportation for people to get where they need to be, migrants are saying it's way too far away. Here's some pictures of what it looks like, and yes, it does not look ideal, but a spokesperson for the mayor's office is saying, look, we have 65,000 migrants right now currently in New York City that we are sheltering, with thousands coming every week. The city simply doesn't have enough ideal locations to put people, so we have to do what we have to do. And this location did have safety concerns from other officials, but it just goes back to where do you go? Where do you put people? Also, I don't know if you remember, but the city of New York is offering people one-way plane tickets up to $1,000 if they want to go anywhere in the U.S. or in the world. And I don't know if it applies to this particular shelter, but there is in the shelter system for the migrants a 60-day limit on family units and a 30-day limit on single adults. So once you hit that limit, you have to reapply for your shelter stay. So the migrants that chose to leave, I did hear that one or two were going back to the Roosevelt. Now, if they'll take them, I have no idea.
Undocumented and you do not qualify for asylum, you can't get a work permit in the United States. So somebody's going to sit here for 10 years and wait for a judge and not be able to make a living. I want to know that. That's the story I think we should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are a lot of people, quite frankly, that are in these lines that are not going to be able to stay in this country because they are not going to be accepted for any number of reasons. Some of these people in this line are seeking asylum because they come from countries where they're being tortured because of their political beliefs. Other people are in this line because they want to go to a country where they can make more money. So the reality is that everybody who is lined up this morning will be granted asylum and will be deemed a legal citizen here in this country. But the only way to find that out is to actually get in line and wait. And unfortunately, right now, it's taking years for that to happen. So a lot of people are being lost in the system. A lot of people are going undocumented. I mean, it's just a complete mess.
It's a total mess, and obviously we need lawmakers to come to some sort of solution. It's not going to happen overnight, though. Thank you so much.
Pending nationwide, and the average asylum case in immigration court now takes at least 4 years to handle from start to finish. So far this year, only about 100,000 cases have been heard. Immigration advocacy groups say that low number is a reflection of how dysfunctional the system is right now. And with the pending expiration of Title 42 and an estimated 10,000 migrants expected to cross the border daily, officials in Texas have already indicated they will continue busing migrants all across the country, only adding to the long lines that we're seeing right now.
In that volume of millions of people who are waiting to see the immigration judge are people who are truly seeking asylum in the United States because they're being persecuted by their government for religious grounds or other political views. And so those people are stuck in the same line of the millions of people who are waiting, who likely will not qualify, who came here more for economic reasons.
Wedding guests. The Crossroads is one of several hotels believed to have booted nearly 24 homeless veterans in favor of incoming migrants after a busload of 60 migrants were sent to the town of Newburgh by New York City Mayor Eric Adams. It's reported these hotels make close to $190 a night housing migrants compared to just $90 a night housing vets.
They're expecting upwards of 10,000 new refugees in New York in the next few weeks. And the mayor's intention was to spread that throughout the state. And now, unfortunately, Orange County was the first case, but we're not going to be the last. And we are going to start galvanizing and organizing to push back.
About 40 minutes away in Rockland County, they were issued a restraining order to prevent New York City and Mayor Eric Adams from housing migrants at a hotel located there. Now, the city and Mayor Adams is fighting back and appealing that restraining order. Adrian, all right, Sloan.
How are they this ungrateful? Migrants giving free housing in a luxury 4-star hotel in NYC posted videos online bragging about their new lifestyle. The insane part is that many iconic and expensive hotels in NYC have had to be shut down, converted into free homeless shelters to fix the migrant crisis. Instead of acting grateful for the hotel, these migrants boasted to their friends about how they now have all this nice stuff for free because they came to America. NYC Mayor Eric Adams put the city in this crisis by publicly announcing that he would welcome all migrants. Why are migrants living better than most Americans? There is currently no plan by the Adams administration to deal with these migrants other than taking private hotels and converting them into shelters. It is unclear how long these supposedly temporary shelters will last, but right now it seems they are here to stay. Massive lines of people waiting outside these luxury hotels can be seen at night waiting to get in. Eric Adams brought this on himself by declaring to the world that NYC welcomes all migrants. Other states, including Texas, took up his offer and flew all their refugees to NYC. Very quickly, the city became overrun with migrants and they ran out of resources to properly deal with them.
An immigrant who's been in New York City for just 2 months has been arrested and released 6 times for 14 crimes, most of them violent. Anchor at Fox News at night, Trace Gallagher is here with the latest. Trace. Hey, Jesse, his name is Daniel Hernandez Martinez from Venezuela. He got to New York June 27th and began committing crimes June 28th. First, he hit a Brooklyn Costco, taking everything from snacks to sneakers to toiletries. He was arrested and released. A few days later, he hit a drugstore. A day after that, another drugstore. Only this time, police say he pulled a knife on an undercover cop. He was arrested, charged with menacing, and released. Then Martinez used a bicycle tire to attack an independent journalist, a journalist who apparently is not a very good judge of character. Watch.
So this is the guy that I treated nicely and told everybody, hey, don't judge everybody badly. This is a nice guy. The other guy told him to attack me, so he attacked me for another Venezuelan for no reason. I treated him nicely.
And the legal legal system also treated him nicely because he was released again and again. A few days later, he's accused of viciously attacking a woman in Manhattan, grabbing her by the hair and dragging her across the floor. He got hit with assault and weapons charges, but was given supervised release, and apparently not a very good supervisor, because 3 days later, he threatened a stranger with a chain, got arrested, got released, got rearrested, and when Martinez requested medical attention, he assaulted a police officer. Now, after 14 crimes, he's being held on $5,000 bail, and he's not the only illegal immigrant committing crimes. Since May, 41 migrants being housed just at New York City's Roosevelt Hotel have been arrested, mostly for domestic violence, all of them released. That's just an atrocious story. I can't even believe it. What do you have on...
I don't want them there. Take them someplace else or send them back to Venezuela. I don't care where they go. This is wrong. You got 73% of the people homeless in this city are black people. What have you done for...
We're disciplined and we're executing on it. It is my vision to take the next step to this, to go to the faith-based locales, and then move to private residence. There are residents who are suffering right now because of economic challenges. They have spare rooms, they have locales, and if we can find a way to get over the 30-day rule and other rules that government has in its place, we can take that $4.2 billion, 4.3 even maybe now, that we potentially have to spend, and we can put it back in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers, everyday houses of worship, instead of putting it in the pockets of corporations. And some of those corporations come from outside our city.
Have taken over several police stations. Rebecca Brannon is an independent journalist. She captured all of this video you are seeing on your screen, and she joins us now with more. Thank you for being here. Tell us what you, look, there's nothing like eyewitness testimony. Tell us what you captured, what you saw.
Well, Chicago is out of time, money, and space, and that actually came from top aides to former Mayor Lori Lightfoot last month. And so now we're seeing about 100 migrants arrive per day in Chicago, being dropped off across the city at various police stations. And yesterday, I visited 8 of those, and what I saw was not good. Living conditions are unsustainable. People are living on top of each other, eating and sleeping off the floor. Some are ill, some have lice. Some stations are even dealing with bed bugs. And it's now created an unsustainable situation and environment for police officers who are now being taken away from their daily duties, having to deal with crime, whatnot, or dealing with residents who have to come to the stations because they're now having to act as social workers, looking after these individuals. And again, these stations and officers aren't receiving any aid from the city or the government, as in all my conversations when I spoke to them.
You know, you mentioned resources. I mean, obviously law enforcement, healthcare, education. I mean, I don't know a single police officer who went through the academy so they could wait on migrants, but that's what they're being asked to do. And I would assume that that would be at the exclusion of doing other things which may be desperately needed in Chicago, like actually enforcing the law.
Yeah, some of these officers have personally purchased necessities like baby wipes and food for these individuals. And again, this humanitarian crisis has now fallen on our police officers, our community members and residents who aren't receiving that aid from the city, cities like Chicago who have advocated for being a sanctuary city.
Right, so it's having an impact on cities like Chicago and New York and others. I assume it's also not very pleasant conditions for migrants. I mean, I understand people wanting to come to this country. I understand that, even if it's not warranted, not legal, not justified. I do understand it. I assume the conditions are not good for them either.
Yeah, you know, it's a mixed bag. In speaking with some of these migrants, they are grateful to be here, but in speaking with them, it's very clear they didn't expect to be sleeping on a police station floor. They have absolutely nowhere to go, and everyone I spoke to didn't have family here, so they're just waiting. And officers I spoke to said, we don't know what's going to happen. This could go on for months, and it's unsustainable. These people have nowhere to go.
All right, we talked about what does qualify for asylum, for seeking asylum. I want to play something for you, then ask you a question on the other side of this clip.
Being in Venezuela and the current political position is now,
did they ever feel that they were politically or religiously persecuted, especially when it comes to them applying for asylum here in America?
No, la verdad es que no hemos tenido un caso así, porque no estamos como involucrados en cosas así.
Sí, está muy fuerte la inseguridad allá, sí. Pero para todos. Sí, está peligroso para todos.
So they're saying there's definitely financial insecurity, but as far as religious or political persecution, not so much per se.
And so I believe the United States for that. I mean, our law does make allowances for people that are fleeing persecution. But that does not include economic opportunity. And what I heard there, and you know, credit to them for telling the truth. They're not being persecuted for their religion. They're not being persecuted for their political beliefs. It is economic opportunity, and that is not, as I understand the law at least, a valid asylum claim.
Yeah.
So as of the last count, which was Wednesday night, the city had 39,400 migrants in its care. That number likely over 40 grand right now. The mayor's office is clear. They cannot handle any more. Both Mayor Adams and New York City's public advocate, Jumaane Williams, say President Biden needs to do more.
I am asking President Biden to please step up here. Do not ignore New York City. We cannot handle the immigration problem all on our own. It's unfair to ask New York City to do that.
Dana, over the past year, New York City has turned over 130 hotels into emergency migrant shelters. If the numbers continue to skyrocket as expected with the end of Title 42, the city confirms they are considering every possible solution, including housing migrants on residential streets. I'll send it back to you.
Air Force are
fucking
looking
listen
to overcome recruiting shortfalls. They've ramped up their marketing, including on social media, to entice legal immigrants to enlist. They're also using recruiters with similar backgrounds to appeal to potential recruits. But the biggest draw for migrants is the promise of a fast track to citizenship, plus jobs and education benefits. Both the Army and the Air Force have said they will not meet their recruiting goals this year.
So was this the plan all along? I'm just saying. Was this the plan all along? On why they let all these fighting age men, immigrants, come over here in America? Because we know nothing ever happens just for no reason, you know. Now they're starting to recruit the immigrants into the Navy and the fucking Army. Y'all just heard that shit. Now that makes sense. I'm just saying that is the most logical reason, me personally, the most logical reason that I could think of on why out of all these years we just now, out of all the time, hey, yeah, let's let all these immigrants come over here. We gonna feed them, and we already know that Big Brother don't do nothing for free. Yeah, everything comes with a cost. Join the Army and the Navy. Hoorah. Let me know how y'all feel about the migrants joining the Army in the comments. Like and follow for more wisdom, and stay tuned.
More than 3,000 migrants are awaiting shelter in Chicago. Most of them are currently at Chicago police stations.
So all gonna sleep at night when little kids start getting raped, and you allow this? Not here! Not anywhere! Get lost!
Go home! Where's the children? You're not welcome!
As buses arrived in this conservative residential neighborhood on Staten Island to unload migrants, protesters unloaded their fury.
Go home!
Their simmering anger even aimed at the NYPD.
You're a disgrace! You said anything with children? These are I hope it shows up in your backyard.
Nobody stands with NYPD anymore, now you know why.
Dozens of asylum seekers were bused to a former Catholic school for housing here. Hundreds of residents started protesting overnight. 3 3 of them arrested for obstructing governmental administration.
Common sense, decency, and what this country should be all about. That's your victory.
And hours after migrants arrived, residents with a short-lived victory. A judge granted a temporary restraining order blocking the city, only to be reversed hours later when the city won its appeal. The mayor's office says it empathizes with residents and is reminding them this is a federal problem that can only be solved by Washington. The city says it is out of options.
We're Christians, we're Americans, we're patriots. We have compassion for these migrants. We love people, but we just want to make sure our children are safe.
The plan is to house about 50 asylum seekers here, women and families, no single men. 20 of them left, though, because they say they felt unsafe after being heckled and jeered. In the Arrow Car section of Staten Island, Stefan Kim, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Buses with migrants were left on the doorstep of Kamala Harris in Washington again. In total, more than 70 migrants from the border with Texas were delivered to the vice president in 2 days. Thus, the governor of Texas continues his policy of delivering migrants to cities run by Democrats.
Small little towns on the border like Del Rio and Eagle Pass, they have no capacity to deal with the number of people coming across the border.
Meanwhile, border towns brace for an influx of migrants due to the end of Title 42, while the government claims the border is not open.
If anyone arrives at our southern border after midnight tonight, they will be presumed ineligible for asylum and subject to steeper consequences for unlawful entry.